Konnichiwa mina, boku wa Jeremy desu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Today was probably one of the best Sailor Moon Crystal episodes ever. It was filled with a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on. When I was reading the chapter before I even started watching this series, or the show today, like I normally do, I was like, how are they going to fit this all into one? And anyway, they did, so we'll go from there. First of all, they miswrote the name of the episode on the on Crunchyroll. They called it Act 35, Infinity 9, Infinite Labyrinth 2, but it's actually, of course, episode 35, Act 34, Infinity 8, Infinite Labyrinth 1. So, Crunchyroll, what the fuck? Seriously, get your stuff together. But no, probably an honest mistake. It happens from time to time. It's all good. So, basically, it picks up where things left off, kind of, except that they actually took Chibiusa to the hospital, and she's sitting there. Now, it's funny because in the manga, the doctor says that Chibiusa is on her deathbed, but in the anime, the doctor says that she's actually died, and just kind of walks away, and it's like, okay, well, that's a little horrible of you to do so. Just leave everybody there to catch it in or take it all in and stuff. And then Haruka, Michiru, and Setsuna come in, and they're wearing different outfits actually than what they are in the manga. Haruka has this weird, I don't know. I'll show you the one that she's wearing in the manga. So here's the outers in their outfits there. If you want to watch the episode of Crystal, you'll see that they're different. Probably, I don't know. These ones would have made more sense. Maybe not. These ones actually look like they're going to a ball or something like that, or a celebration and stuff. And it almost looks like there's balloons in the background, which again, I'm like, oh, they could have totally gone that way since the production crew doesn't like Chibiusa, according to what we saw in the last one. I don't know, but another thing I should mention is that the opening theme has also changed, and so is the ending theme. I think it's a little early, but maybe I'm off. I love how they left the last episode, had the really happy music and stuff, and now we have the new ending with Tuxedo Kamen singing, which sounds like porn music, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And the opening theme is the same song, sung by Momoiro Clover Z, and I actually like this version compared to the other two, honestly. It's like getting gradually better. Although Galaxia's voice actress singing it wasn't that bad. But this one has like a rock tinge to it, and I think there's different visuals. I haven't really watched the opening too much recently, and I probably should have done that before I said anything, but yeah, it's new, and we're definitely down to the final episodes of Sailor Moon Crystal, at least for this season, before the Death Busters arc starts. Whether it's going to start, I don't think they're actually going to go into it right away, but who knows? There's been no announcements, so. Diana is crying. At Mamoru's house when they bring Chibiusa there. And she... Apparently Diana's a puppy because she sounds like a puppy whimpering. Like, literally, she does. It's actually adorable and really sad at the same time. So, but I have two cats whom are actually in here, and that's probably what the noises you may hear off and on are. My one cat, Fong, is at the bottom of the camera tripod, and he's looking up at it. But anyway, I've never heard them whimper like that before, ever. If anything, it's a hiss or just a meow. So, I don't know. Let's see if we can get him to talk. Fong! Meow. 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 There we go. That's what a cat does. Anyway, so, now, Mamoru has the power, and I don't know if they've really touched on this before. He's connected to the Earth. They go more into that in the Super S arc, or the Death Buster, or the Dead Moon Circus arc. I'm just tripping over my words today. And so with Elijah and all that stuff, but we'll get to that later on. So he's connected to the Earth. That's why he's able to later on realize that Usagi or Sailor Moon is being manipulated and can talk to her and all that stuff. It's through the Earth, just like he's connected to Chibiusa, and that's why he can say that, you know, I can sustain her life form. This is just one small body. It's easy to do. So he's sitting there in his room doing this. Meanwhile, Mistress Nine is talking to Professor Tomoe and Kaori Knight, who come in, and she's in the manga. She mentions that no matter what she does to cut the hair, it just keeps growing. They leave that part out. Anyway, whatever. The professor explains that it had been a long time since he implanted a daimon egg inside of Hotaru's body, and Hotaru is still alive, or her soul is still in there. They never actually extracted it. It's still in there. So this is a little bit different than what they've normally been doing. Fong, be careful. Sorry, my cat is like pushing the tripod or the box. No. I don't want you getting... No. Okay. You go over there. Like, oh God, the camera's gonna fall. So he's like, why are you using my box? I want to use my box. So here. Hey. Come here. I'm just terrified my camera's gonna fall. But anyways, so Mistress Nine is like, thank you, Coyote Knight, for doing this, taking care of the master, but now it's my job to do, so you don't have to worry about it. You have another thing to do, and that's destroy the anomalies and abhorrences, or whatever they call them. And Coyote Knight's pissed off. She's not going to go quietly, but as she goes up to the whatever, Coyote Knight, Mistress Nine is walking over to see what's his name? I'm totally distracted here because of my cat. So, Pharaoh 90. And as she walks, you see like vines and stuff growing, which is really neat. So that's why the whole place eventually ends up in vines. So, Coyote Knight goes into the principal's office, and she's got this gigantic alchemy circle, and she is trying to revive the Witch's Five, which she eventually does. Meanwhile, Usagi and Momoiro are having their little talk. He kisses her and says this has to be done, blah, blah, blah. The inner senshi then meet Usagi outside and say that, it's time to go to Mugen Geku Inn and take care of this. So they end up there. Now the commercial break is at 9 minutes, so it's really early on, which I think kind of works for it. It's just a little different than what they normally do, because they try to do it around the 12 or 13 minute mark, about halfway through the episode. But it's okay, because there's a lot of action coming up, and I guess they just didn't want to break it up too much. Watch if it ever hits North American television and there's freaking commercials all the time, because that's what we have here. Lucky us. So, now Sailor Moon sees Sailor Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and Uranus, they have this connection of sorts, like they're talking in their heads and stuff like that. But Uranus obviously she feels guilty about having to kill Hotaru. But that's what they're going to do. The inner senshi go to run inside, and there's Cyprien and Pitlal that welcome them in, and all of a sudden they're thrown into this weird labyrinth. Now, I think the Sailor Moon Super S / Stars first 6 episodes of Sailor Stars, where it finishes off the Neherenia arc, kind of draws from this forgotten plot point from Sailor Moon S that was never really used in the original anime. They have the labyrinth thing, and the senshi are all off, and they're fighting with the witches, kind of, or Mars goes to see, or ends up with Eugiel, whatever, and she holds her down, and she doesn't want to fight anymore, and basically each of the witches is like, hey, you don't have to fight for Sailor Moon anymore, you should focus on what you want to do. Vilu catches Sailor Mercury and says, hey, you should study more, blah, 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 which made me think that I kind of missed the whole thing of like, when they really went into it with Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the live-action series, about Ami and her mom and how she wanted to be a doctor and stuff. And even in the original anime, they go into that more. But anyway, I think they have a thing coming up in Super S with that. There's no chord holding Sailor Venus, though. When she goes up on stage, she's just singing, and I guess it just entrances her. And then Telu grabs Makoto, and she's like, no fighting for us today, let's just go do this, which is weird, because Makoto's usually the one that would want to fight, and she's just loving all the flowers and stuff like that, and then all the flowers turn into Telun, and basically she falls asleep, and yeah. So, Sailor Moon then is faced with the inner senshi coming to her and basically melting into wax, saying that it's her fault that they're like this, and she uses Spiral Heart Attack and gets rid of it all. But then all of a sudden you go to the outer senshi, and they're trying to make their way in. There's like vines everywhere, they can't get through, they keep growing back. So Sailor Uranus uses her Space Sword Blaster to get in when, and this is very important here, she does it after Neptune draws their attention to the fact that the inner senshi are in trouble, and Sailor Moon's in trouble too. And now we get a scene that doesn't actually happen in the manga. It's the witches attacking Sailor Moon, and it's actually really neat. You get to see them in action and using all their attacks. It's just a very, very well done scene, and it does the Witches 5 justice. Unlike the 4 Shiteno from the Queen Beryl arc, where they kind of were brought back and then died by, and they had, what's her name? Queen Metalia. Like, this is really well done. And I think it's because they're really highlighting the girl power type thing, whether they're good or bad, is just there. And this whole episode has so much action to it. So the Outer Senshi burst in, and Neptune uses submarine reflection and basically takes the Witch's 5 out in one fell swoop. So it's kind of like an eye for an eye, just like Queen Metalia took out the Shiteno. And now this, I almost wanted to bang my head against my desk when I saw this. I was like, really? The way they executed Chronos Typhoon was such a lazy way to do it, the way Sailor Pluto's voice actress did it, and I really hope Veronica Taylor does it much better in the English version, but this was sad. And I was just like, really? It was almost like it was an afterthought. It was so lackluster. Just Chronos Typhoon, and then boom, there you go. The Inner Senshi are saved, and maybe they're trying to do it like that because it's just like, oh, it's such a powerful attack, but we'll just kind of like brush it off. But it's so powerful. I don't know. It's like the antithesis of it. Anyway, so there's this epic team up. At this point, the Outer Senshi decide that they do want to join forces with the Inner Senshi, and you really get that sense of the unity. And because of this, they're able to bring forth the Moon Chalice, which Sailor Moon calls the Chalice because that's how it is with the Japanese way of speaking, CH, the K sound. And although they could have said cha, now that upon reflection. Anyway, so Sailor Moon turns into Super Sailor Moon, and they end up. Now this is the funny thing. Okay, if you really watch this, you can interchange the facial structure of Sailor Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Moon very easily. Like that's all that happens. They're basically in the same position. You see their faces, but when it goes over to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and that moment just before, as they're calling the chalice forward for Super Sailor Moon to transform, Uranus's face and Pluto's faces are a lot thinner, and Neptune's face is a little bit more pudgy. But I mean, the 5 inners basically all have the same facial structure, but the outers even differentiate from each other. So that was a neat little thing to point out there too, and you should check it out. So they go up to the principal's office, and Coyote Knight is all indignant and pissed off. Hey, you stopped my most powerful attack, and I'm going to turn into this gigantic, weird-looking She-Hulk / werewolf type thing. I don't know. It was weird, and I don't know why I thought Xena Warrior Princess in my mind at the moment, but anyway. Now we get another thing that we don't see in the original, because normally Sailor Moon just boom, Rainbow Moon Heartache, but I guess they wanted to have it a little more epic feeling, just because, it wasn't already epic enough. So we have all the Senshi working together: Coconut Cyclone, Venus Wing Chain Sword, Aqua Mirage, and Snake Fire. But of course, Coyote Knight is able to, you can tell it affects her, but not quite. And so she throws this huge attack at them, and the outers come together. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto come together, and they form a shield. Which is weird, because that's Sailor Saturn's power. She has the Silent Wall attack, one of her powers. And so I found it really neat that they did that. That was a neat little change. And then Sailor Moon uses Rainbow Moon Heartache and basically just takes Coyote Knight out like she's not even there. And that is the end of Magus Coyote Knight. Or is it? And is it the end of the witches? No. So, shit's pretty much hitting the fan now, but in a really, really neat, epic way. So then it flashes over to Mistress 9 and Fedo 90, and basically she takes the silver crystal and eats it, and has this really creepy close-up of her going like a slurp, and it's just like, oh, okay, that's really weird. And in the manga, it's supposed to end with Chibiusa glowing and Mamoru going, Chibiusa. But that doesn't happen, so it might happen in the next episode. And then it goes to this new creepy kind of porn-sounding music. Because that's what Tuxedo Kamen is associated with, I guess. He's a sexy beast. It's like a jazzy, I don't know. In the musicals lately, they've been doing these really jazzy songs for Tuxedo Kamen. This is kind of like that, but it's more porn. I don't know how else to explain it. It's got that really 70s kind of disco-y porn jazz music, I guess, to it. So it's an interesting ending theme, but I'm really glad that they left the really happy Chibiusa song in the last episode when Chibiusa died, because this one would have just been even more inappropriate in some way, I would think. But anyway, that was the episode as a whole as I saw it. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was definitely the most strongest episode so far. It did feel rushed in some ways, but in other ways it felt like it was actually done very, very well. And so the next one, of course, is Infinite Labyrinth 2, and we are heading down really, really quickly towards the end. But they just keep getting better and better, so I have really high hopes for the Dead Moon Circus arc and the Sailor Stars arc, should they get that far, and I really hope they do. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, if you checked out my last video, to leave questions in the comment section of that one, because I'll be doing a question and answer video on Wednesday, I believe. So to start my month-long everyday video thing, if I could do it. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. Jamatane, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.